Hello and welcome to I Am Well podcast. I'm your host Gemma, a nutritionist and a hormonal fasting coach, passionate about self-development through a holistic lens. But my biggest mission is to help empower women and get them to reconnect and trust their bodies again. So if you're a woman who just wants to better herself and live her best life, you're listening to the right podcast. So let's get to it. Stop it. It's hard to go when you're here. Like, I make it such a thing. Okay.
Yeah, take it away.
Stop.
Good love. 3, 2, 1.
This is why I go back and forth with having
it for us today.
my husband on. Okay. Welcome back to I Am Well podcast. Today, I have an extra...
Start again.
Why?
No.
Welcome back to I Am Well podcast. Today's episode is extra special as I'm joined by someone who pretty much almost knows me better than I know myself, probably.
Not pretty much. I do. 100% I do. There's no doubt. Inside out.
Oh my God. My husband, okay? He's been on before, so I'm sure you've probably heard his episodes in the past. If you haven't, I am sorry. No, I'm kidding. I'm really excited to have him on because over the weekend, I did have 2 VIP sessions with 2 clients that joined, and one of the conversations that we had was self-doubt and not believing in yourself. And I actually said to her, I was like, if I'm going to be honest with you, like ever since starting my own business, there has been many times I've had the exact same thing go on. And every business owner, every person goes through the exact same thing. And I thought, the person who I always come to is my husband, is you, Shane.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And why not bring you on and kind of ask you some questions and try to get, because what you say to me, it always builds me up. You're like my own personal coach, you know, and I just hope that someone who listens to this episode today, they're going to be inspired, be pumped up as much as I get, and then be like, yeah, I can do this. And self-doubt, it creeps in all the time. It's that little voice in the back of your head, and it's because it's the fear of the unknown, and it just wants you to stay put. It just wants you to continue doing what you're doing because it's safe. So I love when we have our chats and how you really build me up. So that's why I'm bringing you on today, to make sure that everyone else can hear this as well, because I know how powerful it is.
Just sort of like a glimpse into your side, I think.
Exactly.
Today. It's like people get a little bit more understanding of how you function. So.
Yeah, and like when I'm on social media, and when anyone's on social media, it can always look like, oh, they've got it all together. Oh God,
yeah.
She's so confident or something like that. But behind the scenes, there is always that insecure person.
You hear about it every day with social media, and it's like influencers and all this and all the little drama that's going on in their life. But then you go look at their feed and it's like, oh, what do you mean drama? They're over in these paradise places, and you're like, they're having their most amazing time. And it's like, no, that's just what you see.
Yeah. And what I've learned most is, like, doesn't matter how much money you have, like the most wealthiest people can still be the unhappiest. So it really doesn't matter. I've created like a couple of series of questions. Obviously, a lot of them are about me, but I just needed to... the narcissist that I am. No, but I just needed to carry across, like, I just wanted you to bring out that coaching part that you do with me at home, so that people can also hear this and be pumped up. So first off, I want to ask, what's it like watching your partner try to run a wellness business from scratch? So what's it like trying to watch me when I very first started this? Mm-hmm. Posting my very first, face to cameras on Instagram and reels and stuff, and you hearing all the things that I say to you behind the scenes with that.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, it's frustrating, and not for the reasons that you might think. It's frustrating to see, obviously, like someone you love and a family member or whatever, whoever it is, someone close to you, really passionate about something, and you can see that they're really driven and they're knowledgeable in that field, and then still that self-doubt, no matter who they are, creeps in. So it's frustrating to be like, I can see everything, and how can you not see how good you are, and yet you're still doubting yourself in all these aspects? So it can be frustrating in that sense, I guess. But it's also really rewarding in the times where you do pump yourself up and you're like, yeah, like this is amazing. It doesn't just lift you, it lifts everyone around you. And so it is really good like that.
And it's interesting, like you saying, like it's frustrating to watch. That's what people can't comprehend, because like even yourself, like you get self-doubt in yourself too. And it's hard to imagine what other people see around you, that it could be, like the positive things that you say. Like, of course, my brain goes straight towards the negative, because I guess that's my fight or flight mode. That's like my protective safety mode.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to hear when you're like, oh, it's just so frustrating. Like when no one else sees that point, that the part that I see, like, that you're not seeing the part that I'm seeing, or that what everyone else is seeing. And then you forget, like, you think everyone's thinking the same way as you, you know? And that's, I think, my biggest learning curve. Like, even in past things, that when people have frustrated me and I've come to you and I've been like, why are they like this? And you're like, Gemma, not everyone's like you. You've got to remember they're not thinking like you.
And you look so far into yourself and you're like, oh, people are looking at what I posted or what I said here, and I know that they're judging it. It's like, no, it's like a lot of people don't look at that. And if they do, if they're picking one certain thing out of all your feed or everything that you're working towards, and they pick that one negative, then they're going to find every negative. They're going to attack you in whatever field they can.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they're the people that you just avoid, and you just got to cut out. And back to like where you said like, oh, I'm supportive and everything. I'm not just supportive. This is for everyone else listening, to little insight. I'm not supportive in the way of, I just go, oh, like Jem, like you're amazing and you'll be fine, and like just sugarcoat it and say, oh, you're doing amazing. Sometimes I can be a bit of a hard ass where it's like, you need to get out of your head, and mind you, I'm not that polite. And I'll say, seriously, you need to just go upstairs and take a break, and I'll be more blunt and direct.
Yeah.
And I'll say, this isn't anyone else but yourself. So you need to cut it out. And I'll be like, but sometimes there's a time where you do need that, and then other times there's a time where you do need to just that little confidence boost and be like, reassure you of everything that you've done and all the steps that you've taken.
Yeah.
And you've put in the preparation for everything that you're working towards. It's not you just fluking it and it's like, oh, you're going off a whim and you're trying to sell some scheme, and it's like, no, this is a legit thing that people need.
This is the benefit of having a coach that knows you really well. Because as you said, like, you do know the times that I need the comfort, the soft love. And then there's times where I need you to put me into my place. And I know exactly the times that you're talking about, because I remember there's been times where I've been like, Shane, I'm so anxious right now. I have this many things to do. And then I tell you my list, and then I'll be like, just tell me what to do. I'll be like, just tell me what to do. And what was that? Do you remember that one time I said that, and I said, what should I do? And I think you were just like, all I want you to do is do the meal prep and cooking for the week, because, like, I love cooking and I really wanted to get that done, but I felt like I had so many other things on my task to do, and I felt like I had to do work. I couldn't do that. And you were like, put work aside, do the cooking with Brooklyn. Like, you love doing that. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, it felt off, but I was at a point where I was just like, I just need someone to tell me what to do. And then I did that, and I came back to you and I was like, that was actually the best thing. I felt so good after that. Brooke and I had so much fun, and we even made like a good little cute video out of it. And those are the times where it's like, it really works when you need to be like that hard ass. But you do sometimes need that outsider's perspective when you're so caught up in your mind.
100%. And also, like, I find it hard. Like, I find it easier to relate a lot of stuff to sporting or work and everything. Because in sport, growing up, everything, there's always the guys or the players, whoever, guys, girls, that can take a real verbal and you're real direct and you're more aggressive and say, mate, like, you stuffed up here. If that happens again, like, just clean it up. Don't let it happen again. And some guys can take it on the chin and be like, yep. And then that's their motivation. If you go like that to someone that can't handle that, instead of pumping them up and like taking them along, it'll break them down. And then they'll invert and they beat themselves up and then they get too focused on the moment where they stuffed up and they won't want to try again.
Yeah.
So it's really like one, time and place, and then who you're talking to. I think they're the biggest things. And yeah, you find it carries over into everything really, like work, family, work as well. Like, you know, the guys that you can have it out a bit more and be like, and call it out and just be like, mate, that was crap work. And they'll just be like, yeah, I know, like I wasn't thinking straight. But then other guys, you know that they're just obviously a bit more fragile.
Yeah. That's a really good coach when you know that they're really in tune with that. They know when to do it at the right times. And as I said, you know me very well, so you obviously know what I need at the right times, which I love. My next question was, when did you first start to notice my struggles with self-doubt? Do you even remember a time? Because we've been together for how long now? 12 years.
Yeah, 12 years.
So
self-doubt, I remember, this is a throwback to when you were dancing and your self-doubt, I know that goes back a bit.
yeah.
So it goes back to when obviously dancing is very competitive and where you got to at your level of dancing was very competitive and everyone's bloody fighting to get the next job. So when you were constantly being compared to the girl standing next to you, and then that's obviously where people would obviously shine, but then other people would start to self-doubt because every day you're pretty much getting beaten up by the teachers and the educators, whatever, saying like, you're not doing this right, you got to get it right, and you're like, okay, I'll work better. And then the girl next to you, they might praise her one day and you take that in and be like, oh, I can't do it and she did it perfect.
Yeah.
So I do remember you went through that phase and you self-doubt and then you like changed your hair colour to try and stand out more.
Oh my God, I did too, yeah. I took in a DJ Havana Brown photo because my teacher said that you should change it to DJ Havana Brown's hair colour to stand out. And I hated it. I hated the hair colour, but I did it to stand out.
And that's the self-doubt and not having the confidence in yourself to be like, no, like I'm confident in myself. Like, because it's not like you had weird hair. You were brunette, long hair.
Yeah.
So it's very common and it's like, oh. So,
but that was what I was told. I was told that I had to have like this bleach blonde hair because everyone else has the common brown hair. So I have to stand out somehow. And so I just didn't believe that my own skills and my own...
self-doubt.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Exactly.
So probably, so it was a while back. I probably saw it then. But then you do overcome things, whether you notice that you do or you think it's just luck that things turned out. But obviously you went really far in dancing, not having the blonde hair. And then you end up going overseas and working and all that. And yeah, you think, oh, I was just lucky that you got this. It's like, no, it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, that was actually going to be my next question because I was going to be like, what changes have you observed in my confidence over the years? But that's like what you're saying. When you notice that I've gained more confidence doing the more out there kind of jobs or putting myself in... Yeah,
so I 100% I've noticed you gain confidence when you put yourself out there.
Yeah.
When you put yourself in that awkward and unknown position and then you go, okay, well, and I have to adapt. And you go to these meetings where you're meeting all these brand new people and you're like, they don't know who I am. I can be who I want to be. And then, your confidence definitely grew from there. But obviously having kids, I do think takes a hit on your confidence.
Yeah.
Because having kids, you're so isolated to just the kids. You're stuck at home a lot more, and you're not the priority, like they are. And I know that's probably not the best, and you should still prioritize yourself. But it's very hard. Obviously, I wouldn't know as a mother, but obviously, when you're literally giving your body to the kid for them to grow, it's hard to still put yourself first. So obviously, taking yourself out of the reality sort of field, you're going to lose confidence.
Yeah, and that was 100% what happened for me. I even remember going to the first mothers group for summer when someone was born, and I felt like I was too young because everyone else was older than me, and I was like, oh, I can't go to the mothers group. They're all judging me because I look so young, and it definitely wouldn't have been the case, but that's when it all got a lot worse. It did, like I agree, like it started like when I was in dancing, and then it got better as I put myself out there, had kids. I think it went downhill, especially from being in lockdown, COVID, and then putting myself out there again. So would you say, like, would you recommend anyone else that's going through like self-doubt like that I kind of went through, would you be like trying to put yourself in those situations, do you think?
I think so. I can't, especially in the situations where it is just random people, because your biggest fear is that you look like a fool.
Yeah.
And then if you can push past it and you can go, okay, well, I'll look like a fool to these complete strangers, and then I'll never see them again. That's going to be your comfort that you can fall back on and be like, oh, well, it's okay. Yeah, I said this silly thing, but I'm not going to see them again. And that's an amazing skill of mine, is being able to push things to the back of my head and completely forget about it. It's also a really bad...
big pet peeve of mine sometimes
too. Yeah, it's really bad. I'm not too proud of it. But...
one of those people that can fall asleep at the drop of the hat too.
Yeah, great responsibility. But... yeah, I think putting yourself out there really it helps with your confidence, and you do need to do that.
So going back to over the years, can you picture a time, like, do you know, is there like one kind of scenario that you can picture where I just had my lowest of low self-doubts, or my lowest of low points, you think?
I feel like there was, and I feel like it was back when we were in Melbourne, and I think just after we had Brooklyn, our house and everything we were trying to build the new house, and that was horrible timing, and then I was just out of COVID and everything like that. I think you were really just going through the motions. Like, you weren't really present.
I was literally about to say that, I wasn't present.
Yeah, so, and that's nothing against you. I'm just...
no, I agree.
yeah, you could feel it. And then, mind you, it wasn't just like one reason. It wasn't like, oh, your diet or anything like that. I think it was a combination of a lot of things, which it's always going to be.
Yeah.
You're always going to have a lot of things going on.
And back then it felt like the world was against me.
Yeah.
And like looking back now, it's like it wasn't that bad.
No, it's very hard. But I remember also feeling just the suffocation of everything. Mm-hmm. And it felt like suffocating, and we just need to change something.
Yeah.
And we couldn't pinpoint one particular thing. It wasn't money. It wasn't anything like that. It was just a combination. Yeah.
So I would say like the best thing that we ever did then was change our environment drastically, like the whole moving states. And we literally just built a home, lived in it for 6 months, didn't have a backyard at all. Yeah. Everyone around us, like, we were like, oh, our neighbour's going to think we're insane when we put up the for sale sign.
Yeah.
But looking back, it was a bloody huge risk, and it still is. But we both can agree it's the best thing we ever did, because...
oh, yeah. And there's gonna be times where we look back and we go, oh, we wish we kept the house, but we wouldn't be anywhere near as happy or something like that. Like, there's obviously choices that you could make that be like, oh, we would have done this a bit differently. But I think that's...
And we forget what it felt like in the moment. Like, as you said, that was one of my lowest points. Like, I was very much disassociating from everything in life at that point, because it did feel like everything was against me. So that was, I guess, the biggest thing. If anyone is feeling like that, hope you're not. If you're listening to this, hopefully you're not. You're in a better place.
Look, if you're feeling like that, and you feel like you don't have support around you from anyone, reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out to you. Reach out to me on Instagram, and just to talk. It's not like we're going to try and sell you something. It's like, not come buy this thing, just to talk. And I think that's the best thing you can do. It's like, yeah, if you're not comfortable reaching out to strangers, reach out to us and just start with a message and say, oh, I listened to the podcast. That's it. That's all you need to start with it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip, because it's just speaking to someone who's been through it too. It makes it like less vulnerable. Like when you're hearing our story and you're like, oh yeah, we've been through that. Like we know what it's like. It's like, oh, okay, they can relate. They know what it's like. But there's so much good that can come from it too. So there's like light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, you've made lifelong friends from just reaching out on Instagram and then still talking, and
I would never have done that in the past. Like past Gemma would never have been like just reaching out, messaging people on Instagram. I would have felt like, I don't know, that it was way too scary. And now it's the best thing I've ever done. So how we've talked a lot about me and how you've helped me get through these dark times. How do you then...
Oh, it's coming on me.
Well, balance
being
supportive for me and pushing me to grow, but also looking after yourself in that respect? Because I know we both know how sometimes you can take on someone else's emotions. If one of us has had a bad day and they come home all grumpy, like I know I've done it. Like if you've come home grumpy, I'll take it on, or vice versa. If I come home grumpy, you'd be really happy to take it on. So like, what have you kind of learnt to make sure that we don't do that as much anymore, you know?
I think I did go through a phase where if you come home grumpy, my defense would be like, okay, well, I'll just be grumpy too, because she can't get angry at me if I'm also grumpy. If I'm worse than she is, then that's like the defense. And I think that happens a lot more than you realize. It's always, if someone's had a bad day, it's always going to end up in a fight.
Yeah.
So I think I did try, like I try to change that. Obviously there's going to be times where I still go, oh, like I can't deal with that today as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to have fights. But
I think the thing... Sorry, I'm cutting you off. You go. I just realised I cut you off. I was going to say, which is so funny because I cut you off, but the thing is, I think it's communication for us. I think it's that we're... Like, even us talking now, like, we talk it out a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think...
Yeah, I think that's always been our thing is, yes, we will have a fight, like anyone, but we never leave it and let it just fade out by itself. We'll always resolve it that day.
Yeah. Whether
we go, okay, we've had a fight, and then it's an hour later. I don't think it would ever really go longer than an hour later until we talk again. Or someone will go for a walk and they'll come back and look and then say, look here, I'm sorry, or I'm sorry for how I burst, or this is the reason why. Had nothing to do with you, whatever. But yeah, we always end up talking it out. And I do think that's a key factor.
And there's been other little things that even you've helped me. You know, remember when you said that time, if we get really annoyed with each other, just do the quick three kisses, and then that tells you that you're annoyed with them.
Yep.
And it always makes us laugh.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I knew she didn't want to give me a kiss then, but she's pissed. Yeah.
And that was so funny that you said that, and it was a joke at the time, but now like when we do it, like every time you do annoy me or I do get annoyed, it makes me think about it. Like it makes me go, oh, I'm annoyed. He said to do this when I'm annoyed. And then it makes it seem less intense.
Yeah.
You know, it like puts it in a bit of light, and then I'm like, oh, that's silly. And I just start laughing, because if I try and do that, it's just stupid.
Yeah, so it just brings you back to reality sort of really quickly, where it's like, okay, well, I guess we're fighting over the fact that you got the wrong ingredient or something
Yeah.
like that. You're like, what are we doing? Like, why?
Yeah.
Me and my brother used to have something when we played footy because we were on opposite teams, and when we played against each other, and when it got really intense, our key word was sandwiches,
Yeah.
and then that would de-escalate whatever it was, and then we'd just laugh and be like, huh, all right, we'll just get back to it now, instead of real, because we're obviously really competitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's that also the same sort of principle where it's a de-escalation sort of trigger that goes, okay, we'll do this, and you go, oh, all right, level-headed again.
Yes. I think like I actually highly recommend anyone that tool because it's been interesting, really funny for us. But that's another thing that I was going to actually ask. What advice would you give to other partners who are trying to support someone who has a lot of self-doubt, who has a lot of insecurities?
Firstly, you need to listen. I know everyone says that, but you can't help someone without knowing what they're going through. So, because sometimes your whole thing is, yes, you just need to talk, and you just need to talk it out. And once you've spoken to someone, and then you can, while you're speaking, you're also processing in your head, and you go, oh, actually, like, yeah, I just said this. It's actually fine, I guess. So sometimes I don't even say anything to you. And as you're speaking, you're like, oh, I just sort of fix it. Oh, thanks for that. And I'm like, okay, well, all good. I barely even heard what you said, but
Yeah.
sure.
No, that's true, yeah.
So, yeah, take it in and then know how they're feeling and give them the feedback that you think they're in that phase. So it's either comforting or direct, and go from there. Obviously, you're not going to get it right every time, but the fact that you're trying and they can see that you're present, I think that's a big factor.
Yeah.
If you're looking at your phone and you're going, yeah, no, that's all good. Yeah, just do that.
Yeah, a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah, which I've been guilty of doing.
Oh.
Okay, you don't have to. You can say it. It's all good. No angel. But yeah, so I guess that's the factor, is just be present. And yeah, if you haven't got that support group around you, I think reaching out to someone and trying to build that support group. Mm-hmm. Not everyone's out to bring you down. There obviously are some people, but...
Okay, the next question. So how do you... This is actually not even just with me. Like, how do you maintain your own confidence while you're trying to be a support system for someone else? So I know I've had a lot of self-doubt, but then how do you not let it get to you? Like, what if then, I'm bringing up some points and you're like, oh my God, like, are they thinking that, Not even with just me though, like say with someone at work that is has their own insecurities and is saying, oh, they're thinking this person doesn't like them or something. And then how do you stop yourself from going like, oh, did they not like me? You know what I mean? Like throwing it back to you. So how are you maintaining your confidence throughout trying to give the support to everyone else?
I think as I've obviously got older, I did realise that younger, I did take it in a lot as people are trying to be direct at me and trying to pick on me for my insecurities and stuff. And then as I've grown up, I've realised that it's more a reflection of them. And then, yes, as people say things, for 5 minutes or so, I might take it in and be like, oh, like, yeah, maybe that is my problem. Maybe I'm not good at what I'm doing or something like that. And then just reassuring yourself. I think breathing is an amazing technique. I never really understood properly how to do it for the meditation or resettling my head space. And then as I did it, it's helped immensely, especially in a work environment. Things can get pretty tense sometimes when things aren't going right, and I'm working in a pretty secure place and something's gone faulty and it's on me, and I'm like, oh God, like I've got to figure this out. So taking that time to breathe and compose really does help. But yeah, when people are struggling, they're gonna pull other people down. So if people are drowning, they're going to reach for the next person next to them and just pull them down. And that's how it is. And instead, just maybe try to support them if you can. And then if you can support them, if not, then they're going to constantly keep bringing you down.
So I guess that's where you need to put yourself first.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. If you can't help someone if you're not in that mindset.
Or if they don't want to be helped either.
Yeah, I definitely know about that. But yeah.
That actually, you brought up the work, and then it just made me think. I was like, even with the breath work, do you reckon like there's a lot of men that you work with, a lot of men around you that they don't know how to breathe, you know, like properly?
Oh, for sure. And I think it's a mentality of like weak. I don't like it to tell like another guy and be like, oh, dude, you just got to try just breathing and just take. A lot of guys will just brush it off and be like, yeah, like I know, like I'll just breathe, whatever. But it's like, no, like really, just take a moment. And but for people, a lot of guys to take that in, it's like looked at like demoralizing. It's like, oh, I'm not good enough, and I need to try and compose myself. But it's like, oh, whatever, I'll just keep going, and it's like. Yeah,
and I also feel like the keep going kind of thing is like looked at as, look how strong I am, look how tough I am, I keep going, and I'm not like that person who's taken a second to breathe, you know?
Yeah, and it's a horrible when you start comparing. And
comparison though too, like that plays a lot in self-doubt. Like that's, as you were talking about with me with my dancing and stuff, so that's the thing that and it still, because I grew up with it, and as you know, like it's been there with me for a long time. Yes, I've gotten better at it, and you've helped me through that a lot. But how do you just stop comparing yourself to others, you know? How do you prevent that? Or if you do notice it coming on, instead of blocking that away, what's another way of looking at it? Because I just feel like, you know, blocking it away or putting it away, it doesn't work, like, because it's still, that feeling's there, it's come in. So like, what's another way that you think that helps of looking at it instead of that comparison?
Well, you have to be in a good mindset. So you have to, if you're feeling like you're judging yourself a lot and you're scrutinizing what you're doing, exercise is a really good thing where it's like, it'll just take your mind off it and just focus on the task at hand in front of you. And tick that off and you go, okay, well, now I feel better. And so I do think to stop comparing is also, exercise, detox from social media.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, because it's constantly just thrown in your face how good other people are going without seeing the struggles or anything like that.
Yeah.
So detox of that, and then speaking to that support group around you. And then trying to just get that self-belief back up.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, now positive, looking forward for us. So what positive changes have you seen in me since I've started creating my own wellness business and started on this venture?
Your confidence, your health, and like there's a glow, and it really does show when you're really passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I can just see it, and it's just like a totally different like set of how you are, how you look and everything. You're like, okay, no, she's on today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think like that's also helped with your own positivity and your own growth?
100%. Because like, I'll be honest, the days where you struggle, it's going to make everything else harder around you.
Yes.
Like the other people, like the kids are going to be harder that day.
That's true.
Your other partner's going to be harder. Like cleaning up's going to be harder. Everything's going to be harder.
Yeah.
So when you're up and about and you're feeling positive and you're knocking things over and you're like, yep, okay, that's done. The first thing I did was make the bed, sweet. Like that's the first tick. It's going to make everything easier.
Yeah. So what excites you most now about our future together now? From here on out, we've created businesses, we've moved interstate to a location that we love. We're both in jobs that we love. We have amazing kids. So what are you excited for now?
I'm excited for the next step, and not knowing what that is. And
Yeah.
I like that. I do like the unknown, and it's, 'cause as you know, we're very, we can be spontaneous people where it's like, okay, well, what are we doing today? Not sure. Let's hop in the car. We'll drive somewhere, and then that's it. We have a good day, or we have a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm excited for that next thing. I do get impatient where it's like, okay, well, I want to hurry up and do it. Like I want to hurry up and get there, but I don't know what it is. And I think growing up, I've always been very unsure of what that next step was, whether it was work or footy or anything like that. I've always been like, oh, like what is my passion and everything? And I've always struggled to find like the direction of where I should be going, and not just letting it take me. I think that was probably.
Yay, I'm excited. Okay. Any words of wisdom or anything you want to leave with someone who is struggling with self-doubt?
If you're struggling with self-doubt, and I think the biggest thing is if you don't have that support around you, find it.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're finding that someone's, the one isolation is the poisonous person or anything like that, you got to cut it out, like cut that poison off, and
shake up your environment.
Yeah.
Get out of it. Yeah. That's so true, because that was the biggest thing for me. It wasn't that we had a lot of negative people around us, some negative, but you know what I mean? It wasn't like that was the biggest thing, but it was just the environment, it wasn't full negative coming at us, but it was just a lot of negativity around us.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing that I found. And as you said, having a support group. And I put myself out there, like you said, on Instagram. I got in DMs. I messaged other people. I went to groups, and it's the best thing.
And we are set up to stay in our bubbles. And it would have been very easy for us to be like, oh, we'll just stay in Melbourne. I'll just stay where I'm working, and you can stay where you're working, and we'll just cruise by. We knew where Summer and Brookie were at daycare. We knew where someone was going to go to school. Everything was set up in line, and we're like, oh, everything's fine. And it would have been just fine.
That's the thing, yeah. But I didn't want just fine either.
No, and it's...
Just fine is boring to me.
Everyone out there, you're not just fine. You're better than that. Everyone is. And it's depending on whether you want it. And there's never going to be a perfect time on whether that change is right.
Yeah.
I think that perfect time is when you think, oh, should I do that change? Yes. I think embrace the change and...
Embrace what's scary.
Yeah. It's not 90% of what you're afraid of is just built up in your head.
Yeah.
Unless it's like sharks, obviously they're pretty real. But yeah.
Crocodiles for me.
Yeah, not wrong.
Honestly. Always thinking about crocodiles. Everyone thinks they're my spirit animal.
Deep water gets me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So if we're out in the middle of the ocean, not your happy place?
If I'm like on a boat or something, I'm completely fine. Oh. It's like if I'm in the water though.
Oh yeah, well.
It's just the unknown. But that's a fear. It's like the deep water of the unknown of what's below you.
How deep can you go? Like when we're at the beach, how far out can you go before you start to worry? Like what's deep?
So I'm like pretty good where I can't touch the ground.
So if you are at the beach and all of a sudden you can't touch the ground anymore and you're like just doing the swimming, paddling.
The swimming.
Well,
the swimming thing.
No one can see my hand actions right now, but the...
Yeah, breaststroke, are you saying? You're doing...
What's that? Like when you're just in the one spot.
Treading water.
Treading water.
Jesus. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta be honest, unless I have like a surfboard or a bodyboard or something like that, then I'm good.
Okay.
But it's just, the unknown just creeps into your head. It's like, what's here? Okay.
Actually, I just saw on a TikTok thing, it was actually, there are, you know how there's black holes in space?
Mm.
There's black holes in water.
There you go. Another fear. Thanks.
It's called something else. Like, if anyone's like, no, that's not true, it's called this. No, it's called that. But then if you look up what it actually is called, I can't remember what it is. The description is, it's like a black hole. Like it's like the same description as what a black hole is. It sucks everything in and then it disappears.
Where?
I don't know.
See, this is people's questions.
I don't
It's going
know.
to be, well, wouldn't it just suck in all the water?
This isn't supposed to be what the podcast is about, but I just saw this, guys, and it was just like, you just reminded me.
And on our next episode, we're going to have Neil deGrasse Tyson to explain black holes in water.
But I was just like, oh my God, that is scary. And I just thought, yeah, I'm now, because then someone was like, well, what are you more scared of, black holes in space or black holes in water? It's like, well, black holes in water, obviously. Like, when are we really ever going to go to space?
I'm not going to go in the water now. So.
Okay. Anyway, that is all. So I love the takeaways from this, the helping with your partner, getting to know what they need at the time. Do they need caring support? Do they need some hard love? Changing up your environment. That was the biggest thing that takeaway for us. And also making sure you're putting yourself out there, getting yourself in a community aspect and feel, because we both know that having that support is the biggest and the quickest way to gain more confidence and to believe yourself, having that positive support. That's what you want. So thank you for coming on.
Yes, and if anyone listening wants to hear more from me, DM Gemma on Instagram.
Yeah.
And request it. If
Yeah.
you request it, she cannot deny it.
Yep.
So we have the upper hand. we will take over this podcast. You and I.
Oh my gosh. Imagine if I get like all these
Mutiny?
DMs now. Yeah. They're like, you're off the show. It's like, it's my show.
Doesn't matter.
No. But yes, you can. Send me a DM if you love having Shane on, I'm sure.
Or if not, if you go, the dude's a complete douchebag.
Never have him on.
That's fine. Take it on. And you are blocked. Poison.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you for listening. If you liked this episode, please leave a rating or review. It means the absolute world to me. And as Shane said, send us a DM if you're going through something, or if you just liked this episode, and just let us know, because spread the love and we'll spread it back. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you have a lovely day, night, week, and I'll talk to you all in the next episode. Thanks, guys.